It was just an innocent question from a little girl, but the moment that followed would forever change the way Karoline Leavitt viewed the world. In a single exchange, one piece of jewelry, a necklace passed down through generations, became the catalyst for a tearful, heartwarming revelation that would leave everyone around her in awe. As Karoline stood frozen, her heart raced. What was it about this simple moment that stirred such deep emotions? The answer wasn't in the necklace itself, but in the unexpected power of connection, love, and memories that transcend time. As she walked through the office, wearing her usual work attire, Karoline's eyes were caught by a little girl standing near the hallway. The girl, no older than 6 or 7 years old, was holding her mother's hand, looking around curiously as children often do when they find themselves in a new place. Karoline smiled at them, as she often did with everyone, but this time, the little girl looked at her, not with just a friendly gaze, but with curiosity that seemed to go beyond just seeing an adult figure. Karoline knelt down to their level, offering a warm smile as she said hello. The girl smiled back, but then her eyes settled on something, a necklace that Karoline wore every day. It was a simple necklace, not flashy or extravagant, but it held a lot of personal meaning to her. Most people would glance at it without giving it much thought, but not this little girl. She looked at it, fascinated, and then, in the quietest, most innocent voice, she asked a question that would change everything. "Why do you wear that necklace all the time?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine curiosity. Karoline froze for a moment. It was such a simple question, one that she had never really thought much about. But as she looked at the girl, she realized that this question had layers that went far beyond mere curiosity. The necklace wasn't just a piece of jewelry to her. It had a story, a meaning, a significance that connected deeply with her heart. Karoline had always worn that necklace, and it had become so much a part of her daily life that she never really stopped to consider why. To most people, it was just something she wore, a small piece of jewelry that matched her outfit. But for her, it was a symbol of something far more important. The young girl's question had made her realize just how much she had come to depend on this necklace, not just as a reminder of personal memories, but as a symbol of strength, love, and hope. The air in the hallway seemed to still for a moment. Everyone around them went on with their day, but for Karoline, everything around her slowed down as the question lingered in the air. She could feel her emotions rising, something she hadn't expected. As she looked into the girl's eyes, she realized that this was more than just a question about jewelry. The necklace represented something far deeper. Karoline took a deep breath. She smiled at the little girl and gently replied, "This necklace is very special to me. It reminds me of something very important, something that helps me stay strong every day." She paused, glancing down at the necklace. "It's not just a piece of jewelry. It's a symbol of love and hope." But the moment wasn't over yet. The girl's simple, innocent question had triggered something in Karoline, a flood of emotions that she hadn't anticipated. And now, the journey to explain the true meaning of the necklace was about to unfold, leading to a moment that would touch everyone who witnessed it. As Karoline looked down at the necklace, her fingers gently traced the edges of the pendant, feeling its cool metal under her touch. It was a gesture that had become second nature to her, but today, it felt different. Today, the necklace wasn't just an accessory, it was a piece of her heart, a reminder of everything she had gone through and everything she was striving for. She looked back at the little girl, whose wide eyes seemed to be filled with a deep understanding that was beyond her years. The girl was waiting for an answer, a reason behind the necklace, something that would make sense to her innocent mind. Karoline realized she couldn't just brush off the question. She had to share what it meant, not just because the girl asked, but because in that moment she realized how much it truly meant to her. Taking a deep breath, Karoline began to speak. "This necklace," she said softly, "was given to me by someone I love very much. Someone who is no longer here with me." The little girl's eyes grew even more focused. She had heard that tone before, the kind of tone that signaled something deep and emotional was about to be shared. Karoline could feel the emotions stirring inside her, but she continued. She had to explain it. She had to let this little girl understand the significance of something so small yet so important in her life. "The person who gave me this necklace," Karoline went on, "was someone who taught me a lot about strength, courage, and never giving up, no matter how hard things get. They were always there for me, no matter what happened. And now, every time I wear it, I feel like I carry a part of them with me. It reminds me that even though they're not here anymore, their love is always with me." The little girl stood there, silently listening, her face full of empathy and understanding. It was amazing how such a young child, with so much innocence, could grasp the weight of the words Karoline was speaking. Karoline felt a lump form in her throat, but she fought it back. This was something she had to share, not just for the little girl's sake, but for her own too. The room around them seemed to fade away as Karoline continued to speak. She spoke of the person who had given her the necklace, her grandmother, who had passed away several years ago. She explained how that piece of jewelry had become a part of her, a constant reminder of the love and strength her grandmother had shown her throughout her life. I wear it every day because it helps me feel close to her, Karoline said. It's like a little piece of her spirit is always with me. Whenever I face something difficult, I look at this necklace, and I remember her words. Never give up, no matter how hard things get. The little girl's eyes softened as she looked up at Karoline. That's so sweet, she said quietly. I can see why you wear it. At that moment, Karoline felt something inside her shift. She had shared something deeply personal with this child, and the weight of her words seemed to lift off her shoulders. It was as if the little girl's innocent understanding had helped her remember something she had nearly forgotten, the power of love and memory. As the conversation continued, something incredible happened. The little girl, who had been quietly listening to Karoline's story, suddenly reached up and touched the necklace with a gentle hand. Her touch was soft and respectful, almost as if she understood the significance of the moment. Karoline looked at the girl in surprise, but the child simply smiled up at her. My mommy wears a necklace too, the girl said, her voice gentle and thoughtful. She wears it because it reminds her of my grandma. My grandma passed away last year. Mommy told me the necklace is for remembering her. Karoline's heart swelled with emotion. The girl's words, so pure and untainted by the struggles of life, echoed in Karoline's mind. The fact that this child could relate to her story made the moment even more powerful. For the first time in a long while, Karoline found herself choked up with emotion. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she had to take a moment to compose herself. She wiped her eyes quickly, trying not to let the tears fall, but the emotion was overwhelming. The girl had unknowingly triggered something deep within her. The simple, innocent connection between the two stories, the necklaces, the love, the memories, had unlocked something she hadn't expected to feel in that moment. The little girl looked up at Karoline with wide, understanding eyes. It's okay to miss people, she said softly. My mommy says that it's okay to cry when we miss someone. The words were simple, yet they struck Karoline deeply. In that moment, she realized how much she had been holding inside, how much she had been trying to be strong and composed for the world around her. But sometimes, it's okay to let the emotions out. It's okay to cry. It's okay to miss the people we love. And that's when the tears came. It wasn't just about the necklace anymore. It was about everything, the memories, the love, the strength, and the vulnerability that comes with loss. The little girl had, in her innocent way, opened up a space for Karoline to feel what she had been holding inside for so long. As Karoline wiped the tears from her eyes, she felt a sense of warmth fill her heart. The little girl's simple act of touching the necklace, combined with her thoughtful words, had created a bond between them, one that transcended age, background, and even words themselves. It was a moment that reminded Karoline of the true power of human connection. She looked down at the little girl and smiled through her tears. Thank you, Karoline whispered. You've made my day. The little girl smiled back, her innocence and understanding shining through. I think your grandma would be proud of you, she said softly. The words hit Karoline like a wave. The simple but profound statement from the little girl was exactly what she needed to hear. It wasn't just a reminder of the love and strength she carried within her, it was a reminder that, in the end, love never truly disappears. It lingers in the memories, in the people we meet, and in the small, everyday moments that make life so meaningful. As Karoline stood up, the little girl gave her a hug, and Karoline wrapped her arms around the child in return. For a moment, everything else seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them, holding on to something that went beyond words, a connection that was pure and beautiful. The emotional moment between Karoline and the little girl didn't end there. Word of the interaction spread quickly through the office. Colleagues who had witnessed the exchange were deeply moved by what had transpired. It wasn't just about the necklace anymore, it was about the power of human connection, the shared experiences of love, loss, and remembrance. People who had been going about their busy days found themselves reflecting on their own memories and relationship. Some even shared stories about their own loved ones, how they kept their memories alive, and how certain objects like a necklace, a ring, or even a simple photograph held deep meaning. Karoline's tearful moment had sparked something in others, something that made them pause and appreciate the relationships and memories they held dear. It was a reminder that, even in the hustle and bustle of life, it's the small, meaningful moments that make it all worth it. And as for Karoline, the experience had reminded her that it was okay to let down her guard, to share her vulnerabilities, and to embrace the love that still surrounded her. The little girl's innocent question had opened a door to something beautiful, a connection that transcended words and left a lasting impact on everyone who witnessed it. As Karoline walked back to her office, she felt a sense of peace that she hadn't felt in a long time. The events of the day had unfolded in a way she never expected, but it was exactly what she needed. Sometimes, it's the simplest moments that can bring the most profound change. The little girl had asked a simple question about a necklace, but that question had opened up a world of emotions, memories, and connections. It had reminded Karoline that, no matter how busy life gets, it's important to stop and appreciate the small things, those little moments of connection that make everything else seem so much more meaningful. And in the end, it was a lesson that extended far beyond just Karoline. It was a reminder to all of us that love, loss, and memory are universal experiences. We may all carry different stories, but those stories bind us together in ways we might not always understand. As the day came to an end, Karoline couldn't stop thinking about the little girl's question and the heartwarming moment they had shared. It wasn't just the necklace, it was the realization that sometimes the most powerful things are the ones we can't see or touch. They live in the connections we make, the memories we hold onto, and the love that never fades. Karoline had learned something important that day. The little girl had reminded her of the strength found in vulnerability and the beauty of sharing our stories. That necklace would always be a symbol of love, loss, and strength, but now it carried even more meaning, a reminder of the simple, profound connection between two people who had never met before but shared a moment that would last a lifetime. As Karoline left her office for the day, she couldn't help but smile. She knew that the next time she looked at her necklace, she would remember that little girl, and the lesson that sometimes, a simple question is all it takes to remind us of what really matters. The emotional exchange between Karoline and the young girl didn't end when the two parted ways. It sent ripples through the entire office, reaching people in ways Karoline hadn't expected. As word of the heartwarming moment spread, colleagues who had witnessed the interaction or heard about it couldn't help but reflect on their own lives. Karoline's colleagues, who were often caught up in the whirlwind of politics and day-to-day work, began to take a step back. They started thinking about their own relationships and the things they often took for granted. Some of them, who had experienced loss, found themselves reminiscing about the loved ones they had lost and the meaningful objects that kept their memories alive. There was one colleague in particular, a woman named Sarah, who had always been very focused on her career. She was tough and had a reputation for being all business. But after hearing about Karoline's exchange with the little girl, Sarah couldn't help but stop and think about her own grandmother, who had passed away several years ago. Sarah hadn't really allowed herself to grieve. She had focused so much on work and responsibilities that she hadn't given herself the time to process her feelings. That evening, after the office had quieted down, Sarah took out a small ring her grandmother had left her. It was nothing extravagant, just a simple gold band, but it was one of the few items that connected her to her grandmother's memory. Holding the ring, Sarah thought about how much she missed her grandmother's wisdom and love. It was a small object, but it held an immense amount of power. It was something she had almost forgotten to appreciate, just like Karoline's necklace. As Sarah looked at the ring, she thought about Karoline's words, how sometimes we carry the strength of those who are no longer with us, and how that strength helps us move forward in life. For the first time in years, Sarah allowed herself to feel the sadness, the love, and the memories that the ring evoked. She wasn't just holding on to a piece of jewelry, she was holding on to the spirit of someone she loved. The moment that Karoline had shared with the little girl had sparked a chain reaction across the office, reminding everyone that sometimes, it's the smallest gestures and the simplest objects that carry the most profound meaning. As the days passed, Karoline couldn't help but think back on that simple yet deeply emotional encounter. She found herself reflecting on the larger meaning behind the question the little girl had asked. The question about the necklace had, in many ways, brought her face to face with something she hadn't considered for a long time, the importance of taking the time to reflect on life's true values. In a world that moves so quickly, where people are constantly chasing after success, achievements, and material things, it's easy to lose sight of what really matters. The little girl had unknowingly reminded Karoline that true value doesn't lie in the things we accumulate, but in the relationships we build and the love we share. The necklace, while simple in appearance, was a constant reminder of the strength, love, and connection she carried with her every day. It wasn't a luxury item, it was a piece of her heart, a piece of her history. Over the following weeks, Karoline started to make small changes in her life. She began to focus more on the relationships that truly mattered to her, taking time to reconnect with friends and family who had always been there for her. She also made an effort to help others, whether it was through small acts of kindness or by simply being there to listen to someone who needed support. Her office colleagues, too, had started to change in subtle ways. They began to appreciate the simple things in life, the morning coffee shared with a colleague, the quiet moments spent reflecting on the past, and the memories that held them together. The simple act of asking a question about a necklace had made them all slow down and think more deeply about the things that really mattered. As Karoline moved forward with a renewed sense of purpose, she often thought about the young girl who had asked her that one simple question. The little girl had no idea just how deeply her innocent inquiry had impacted Karoline's life. In that moment, Karoline had not only found the strength to remember her grandmother's love, but she had also learned the importance of sharing her emotions with others. She had learned that it was okay to be vulnerable, and that sometimes the most important thing we can do is connect with others on a deeper level. Karoline kept the necklace close to her heart, wearing it every day as a reminder of the lessons she had learned. She continued to use it as a symbol of love, strength, and the power of memory, but she also began to see it as a symbol of the connections we all share with one another. No matter how different our lives may be, there are always moments that bring us together, moments that remind us of the shared experiences that bind us all. The simple question about the necklace had become more than just a story, it had become a reminder of the power of human connection, the beauty of vulnerability, and the importance of cherishing the memories and relationships that define us. For Karoline, the moment with the little girl would always be something she cherished. It was a moment that had changed her perspective on life, and it was a moment that she would carry with her forever. The little girl had opened her eyes to the beauty of life's simplest moments, and Karoline knew that from that point on, she would never again take for granted the small, meaningful connections that made life truly special. As she looked down at her necklace, Karoline smiled. She knew that her grandmother's spirit was with her, not just through the necklace, but through the love and memories she carried in her heart every single day. As time passed, Karoline continued to reflect on the many lessons that had come from that one small interaction. She began to realize just how much she had learned from others, whether it was from the little girl, her colleagues, or even her own experiences. The lesson was clear. Sometimes the most profound changes in our lives come from the most unexpected sources. The little girl had reminded Karoline that life's most important moments are often the ones we least expect. It wasn't the big achievements or the grand gestures that left the lasting impact, it was the simple, everyday moments that connected us to others, that reminded us of what truly matters. For Karoline, the necklace had always been a symbol of strength and love, but now it also served as a symbol of the lessons we learn from the people we meet along the way. Sometimes it's the quiet, innocent moments that teach us the most profound lessons, and sometimes it's the smallest questions that change the course of our life. And in the end, Karoline realized that it wasn't just about wearing the necklace, it was about living the lessons it represented. It was about embracing love, cherishing memories, and never forgetting the importance of human connection. As the weeks passed, Karoline found herself more connected with the people around her. What started as a seemingly small interaction with a young girl had sparked something much bigger than she could have anticipated. Karoline began to appreciate the simplicity of human connection. It wasn't always about grand gestures or significant moments. It was the everyday exchanges, the smiles, the shared stories, and the genuine moments of kindness that truly mattered. Karoline's life had once been filled with constant busyness. She was always moving from one task to the next, always focused on achieving her goals and meeting deadlines. She had been driven, focused, and determined to succeed. However, that drive had often caused her to overlook the quieter, more meaningful moments in life. Her conversation with the little girl had served as a reminder that life isn't only about getting ahead, it's also about finding joy in the present, in the people around us, and in the connections we make. Her office environment changed subtly as well. Colleagues who had once been too busy to engage in casual conversation began to slow down and take a moment to appreciate one another. They started talking more openly about their lives, their challenges, and their dreams. A sense of camaraderie and connection began to emerge in the workplace, something that had been missing for a long time. For Karoline, these small changes were powerful. She realized that life wasn't about filling every minute with tasks and accomplishments. It was about living in the moment, savoring the time spent with others, and making those connections meaningful. She found herself making more time for the people who mattered most, whether it was by enjoying a quiet meal with her family or taking a break to chat with a friend. These moments, she realized, were what truly made life rich. In addition to reconnecting with others, Karoline began to take more time for herself. She started to practice self-care, something she had often neglected in the past. She found peace in simple activities like reading a book, going for a walk, or spending time in nature. These moments allowed her to reflect and recharge, reminding her of the importance of balance in life. The little girl's innocent question about the necklace had changed Karoline's perspective on life in ways she never could have imagined. It had opened her eyes to the power of simple connections and the profound impact that even the smallest moments could have. Through that one exchange, Karoline had learned to slow down, appreciate the people around her, and treasure the quiet moments that often go unnoticed. As Karoline looked back on everything that had happened, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. She was grateful for the necklace that had been passed down through generations, for the memories it held, and for the way it had brought her closer to her past. But more than that, she was grateful for the lesson the little girl had taught her, that life isn't just about the big things, it's about the small moments that make up our everyday lives. In the end, Karoline knew that she would always carry the memory of that moment with her, and that it would continue to shape the way she lived her life. The simple question had sparked a change in her, one that would stay with her forever. It had reminded her of the importance of connection, of love, and of cherishing the things that truly matter. Through the power of one simple moment, Karoline had learned that sometimes, the smallest gestures can leave the most lasting impact.